Deep within the Turkish Anatolian plains lies a landscape so bizarre it feels ripped from the fever dream of a sleepless surrealist. It is a world of shadows. Stone spires reach dozens of meters high, mimicking giant fungi or sharp, inverted frozen daggers. These fairy chimneys stand amidst deep canyons, carved by ancient rains into sheer cliffs of rose, gold, and bone-white stone. Massive boulders perch atop these stalks like crowns on stone giants. This is Cappadocia, but it is far more than a postcard. 3,000 years ago, an ancient people didn't settle near a volcano. They moved inside the hollowed remains of one. To grasp this impossible feat, we must decode the geology. Without the rocks, the history of Cappadocia makes no sense. Millions of years ago, during the Miocene epoch, central Turkey was a volcanic hellscape dominated by three massive raging peaks. Volcanoes like Hasan and Erciyes erupted relentlessly, choking the sky with millions of tons of ash, pumice, and white-hot gas. This debris settled in suffocating layers, eventually compressing into tuff, a porous, soft stone that feels like sand frozen in time. This petrified ash became the foundation for one of the most enigmatic and incredible civilizations in human history. Yet, the tuff was never uniform. Every eruption left behind distinct chemical signatures and varying levels of density. Soft layers were trapped between harder rock. When eons of wind and rain battered the earth, the soft layers melted away. This erosion left the hard cores standing as fairy chimneys, fragile cones of soft ash shielded by resilient basalt caps. That basalt acts like a protective umbrella. As long as the cap remains, the tower stands while the world dissolves. But once that heavy crown finally falls, and it always does, the soft pillar beneath vanishes into the wind in an instant. Across the horizon, these towers exist in every stage of decay, a ghost-like terrain where humans found their ultimate sanctuary. They discovered a secret. This rock is deceptively soft. Freshly exposed tuff can be carved as easily as wood. Using nothing but sharpened sticks or basic stones, a single man could hollow out a living space in mere days. The magic happens next. When air hits the fresh-cut walls, a chemical reaction triggers, hardening the soft ash into permanent rock. Nature had provided the ultimate construction medium, a substance that is easy to shape but impossible to break. It is clay that transforms into concrete. The Hittites, a Bronze Age superpower, were the first to exploit this geological miracle. Why haul heavy stones to build a wall when the wall is already there, waiting to be revealed? They practiced the art of subtraction. They didn't build, they removed. First came simple caves, then sprawling multi-room apartments. Every spire became a vertical home. Livestock at the bottom, pantries above, residential quarters in the middle, and dovecotes on top. They carved staircases within the stone heart and punched windows through cliffs, turning natural cracks into hidden smoke vents. From the outside, it is just another rock. Inside, it is a warm, fortress-like sanctuary, invisible to any approaching predator. This volcanic rock possesses a hidden power: insulation. Its porous structure acts like a massive organic thermos for its inhabitants. While winter temperatures plummet to -20 degrees, the cave stays at a steady 15. In blistering summer, it remains the same. These mountain dwellers enjoyed perfect climate control millennia before the invention of the radiator or the modern air conditioner. The dovecotes on the upper levels weren't a luxury. These birds were the most vital resource for their survival. Their guano fueled the vineyards, and the birds themselves provided a steady source of meat for the families living below. Some of these avian apartments are over 1,000 years old, still teeming with life and painted in vibrant hues. These decorated facades turn the cliffs into a surreal art gallery, an unexpected masterclass in ancient functional aesthetics. Yet, these visible towers are merely the tip of the iceberg. The true mystery lies buried deep, deep underground. In 1963, a man in Derinkuyu knocked down a basement wall and discovered a dark, endless, terrifying void. That hole led to a room, then a tunnel, then a staircase plunging deeper into the absolute darkness of the earth. He had accidentally stumbled into a massive subterranean metropolis, stretching 18 levels and 80 meters into the dark earth. This was a city designed to house 20,000 souls, along with their livestock and years of emergency supplies. Locals knew of secret tunnels, but the sheer scale of Derinkuyu defied every archaeological expectation and historical record. The infrastructure found within forced experts to rethink everything they knew about the technological capabilities of ancient mankind. This wasn't a random cluster of holes. It was a masterpiece of urban planning, with stables placed strategically for ventilation. Deep shafts provided fresh air, while living quarters were outfitted with carved furniture and lamp niches for the eternal night. Further down lay massive granaries and wine cellars, featuring giant stone jars embedded directly into the cool, silent rock. It was a massive, ancient refrigerator, keeping food fresh at a constant 15 degrees without a single watt of power. At the very bottom sat a cruciform cathedral. But the mystery remains. Why hide so deep? And what were they truly fearing? Researchers identified this specific chamber as a school. It features a grand hall, stone benches, and a distinct podium for the master. Other rooms emerged nearby. On one of the intermediate levels, explorers uncovered a long gallery lined with stone gutters and several deep pits carved into the floor. They first mistook it for a workshop. Later, the truth emerged. A winery. Grapes were tossed into those gutters and crushed by bare feet. The nectar flowed into pits to ferment, while an enemy army marched overhead. These people were crafting wine in total darkness. It is both eerie and deeply human. Life thrived in the abyss. They baked bread in stone ovens, leaving soot that still stains the ceilings. They cooked over hearths, venting smoke through hidden air shafts. Children played in these shadows, scratching drawings into the rock with sharp stones. The elderly huddled by oil lamps. Young couples likely wed and birdled children 50 meters below the surface, in rooms that never felt the sun. The sanitation was equally shocking. This city had toilets designed with engineering far beyond their era. These restrooms were placed on the edges of every level in dead-end corridors equipped with independent ventilation. Waste dropped through vertical chutes into deep collection pits on the lowest floors, far from living areas and water. It was simple, yet it worked perfectly, keeping thousands safe from plague for weeks. But the ventilation was the true stroke of genius. 52 massive vertical shafts pierced the earth from the surface to the very bottom. They functioned like giant lungs. Warm air rose out while fresh oxygen was sucked in through the entrances. The circulation was so flawless that even 80 meters down, the air remained crisp. Some shafts even doubled as secret wells. Groundwater gathered at the bottom to be hauled up by ropes. Providing water for 20,000 people was a nightmare task, one that would challenge modern engineers today. 3,000 years ago, they solved it with ropes and hydrogeological mastery. Their defense was just as calculated. Every level could be sealed by massive stone discs, round slabs 5 feet wide weighing 500 kilograms, which rolled into the doorways from the inside. Moving them from the outside was impossible. There were no handles, and they locked into deep grooves, preventing any retreat. An invader reaching one level was instantly trapped, unable to move up or down. Meanwhile, the defenders retreated deeper, surviving on stockpiled food and breathing through their hidden vents. The hallways were death traps. Narrow passages forced soldiers to move one by one, perfect bottlenecks, where a single man with a spear could hold off 100. Ceilings were lowered so enemies couldn't swing their swords. Holes in the floor allowed defenders to pour boiling oil on those below. This wasn't a shelter. It was a fortress. Derinkuyu is the Titan, but it isn't alone. A few kilometers away lies Kaimakli. This secondary complex descends 8 levels into the crust. Locals and some researchers whisper of a 9-kilometer tunnel connecting these two hidden giants. It remains largely unexplored due to floods, but geophysical scans confirm its existence. If true, the Cappadocia underworld wasn't a collection of isolated bunkers, but a linked network. A subterranean mirror to the roads above. Over 200 cities have been mapped so far, ranging from small outposts for 30 people to giants like Derinkuyu. Experts believe the greatest finds are still hidden. In 2014, construction in Nevşehir revealed a new city. Preliminary data suggests it might be even larger than Derinkuyu. As excavations continue, it is clear this shadow world is far more vast than we believed 10 years ago. The Nevşehir find happened in typical fashion. Builders were clearing old structures for a new complex when a bulldozer suddenly broke through the earth. Beneath a house where families lived for decades sat a secret gateway. Construction froze. Archaeologists found a web of tunnels and chambers large enough to sustain 30,000 citizens. If the size is confirmed, Nevşehir will take the crown as the world's largest underground city. Progress is slow. Every meter must be cleared by hand, every artifact logged, and every tunnel braced against a cave-in. Subterranean Cappadocia reveals itself inch by inch, just as it was carved out 3,000 years ago. But who built this? History offers no easy answer. Xenophon, the Greek historian from the 4th century before Christ, wrote of Anatolians who dug their homes deep into the earth to house entire families and their livestock. This means these cities existed at least 2,400 years ago. Yet many believe the first tunnels were bored much earlier, perhaps by the Hittites during the Bronze Age, 4,000 years in the past. The Hittites, who rivaled Egypt, ruled just a few hundred kilometers away. After them, the Phrygians and Romans expanded the maze. Persians, Greeks, early Christians, and Byzantines all hid here, each adding their own layers to the labyrinth. Every culture left a mark. Phrygian grain silos, Roman air vents, and Christian crosses carved into the rock face. The underground city is a palimpsest, a stone record rewritten by 1,000 years of ghosts. Layers of history etched over more history. Every era is a stratum. Every wall scratch is a ghost. The early Christians left the deepest marks. As Rome hunted the faithful, Cappadocia offered a silent sanctuary. Thousands vanished beneath the earth, escaping the empire's iron grip. They prayed, baptized, and buried their dead in shadow, far from Roman blades. These subterranean shrines are among Earth's most ancient. Carved 17 centuries ago, their walls bear haunting primitive art. Simple fish and rough crosses. Golden halos glowed for those praying in absolute darkness, dreaming of the sun. This wasn't built at once. It evolved through generations of labor. The pioneers hollowed the top tiers. Their children dug deeper. Their grandchildren descended further into the abyss. Each era pushed the boundaries, carving massive galleries, secret passages, and vital air shafts into the volcanic rock. Like a tree growing in reverse, it anchored itself into the planet's heart. By the Byzantine era, it was a colossal feat of engineering. Reaching its peak around the 6th century, it represents a millennium of grit. No grand architect ever drew a master plan for Derinkuyu. Time and a million nameless masons were its designers. But what drove a civilization to live like moles in the dark? The truth is chilling. Survival. Cappadocia sat at the brutal crossroads of empires, a perpetual battlefield for the world. For millennia, waves of invaders, Persians, Romans, Mongols, and Crusaders marched across this land, leaving only scars and ashes in their wake. Every century brought a new predator. For simple shepherds and farmers, the only way out was down. They didn't flee across the land. They vanished beneath it. When war banners appeared, families gathered their livestock and supplies, retreating into the cool, silent depths of the stone. Rolling stones sealed the entrances, hidden by dust. From above, the village looked abandoned, a ghost town of empty huts. Invaders found nothing worth looting. They marched right over the heads of thousands, never suspecting the life teeming under their boots. Tens of meters down, whole communities waited in silence with their animals and grain. Once the drums of war faded, they emerged back into the sun. The 7th century brought the fiercest raids from the east. In this era of fire, the underground became a permanent fortress for the soul. As cities burned across Anatolia, these hidden labyrinths became the only hope. Survival was etched into the very bedrock of the world. During these desperate years, the subterranean chapels were adorned with the vibrant frescoes we see today. 50 meters down, flickering oil lamps illuminated the painted faces of saints, watching over those huddled in the deep. Icons of the divine stared back from the cave ceilings. Those gazes, captured 1,000 years ago, still haunt visitors who descend today. Yet the depths are only half the story. Above, the landscape is scarred with jagged monasteries carved into surreal, towering stone chimneys. The Gorem Valley, a World Heritage Site, hides over 30 rock-cut sanctuaries brimming with ancient, sacred art. The dark church remains pristine because light rarely touches its walls. Its 11th century frescoes look as if they were painted yesterday. They used Afghan lapis lazuli and red cinnabar. True gold leaf still shimmers in the torchlight of these caves. These tiny chambers rival Italian cathedrals in beauty, yet they predate the Renaissance by centuries. A hidden masterpiece of the ancient world. Now, Cappadocia is a tourist dream. Hundreds of hot air balloons drift over the valley at dawn, a postcard of serenity. Travelers snap photos of the fairy chimneys and land for tea, barely glancing at the ground beneath them. Tourists enter the maze, but only see 2 or 3 levels of 18. The rest are swallowed by floods and debris. Descending the narrow hand-hewn stairs is a journey into claustrophobia. The rock feels heavy, pressing in from every side. Steps worn smooth by a million desperate feet. The ceiling drops. You must bow to history. You squeeze through narrow choke points designed to stop an army. Massive stone wheels wait in the shadows, ready to seal you in. Beyond the stone doors lie cramped halls where families lived and died. A world defined by low ceilings and total silence. No sunlight ever reached these rooms. Only the dim glow of fat lamps has ever touched these walls. Look closely. The walls are covered in chisel marks, etched like a frantic rhythmic script into the soft volcanic tuff. Every groove is a strike. Every strike is a heartbeat. Billions of these marks form the skeleton of this inverted city. You aren't looking at stone. You're looking at 1,000 years of stubborn heroism. Ash was transformed into a fortress for life. At level 18, 80 meters down, the silence is absolute. Only a few explorers have touched the true bottom of this abyss. They speak of air that hasn't moved in centuries, and chambers where time itself seems to have crystallized. There, marks left 3,000 years ago remain fresh. Hands from the Bronze Age dug these paths, carving a future out of darkness. This isn't just a monument. It's a raw human story. These builders weren't kings. They were nameless. No blueprints, no grand inscriptions. Just farmers and vine dressers who refused to die at the hands of an invader. They didn't know they were creating a wonder. They simply dug because the surface was hell, and the stone offered heaven's safety. Empires fell, but the stone remained. They traded the sun for survival and left us a mystery that still breathes. A thin volcanic crust was their only barrier to extinction. This isn't a myth. It's a city born in fire. Eons ago, lethal ash petrified. Nature then sculpted this stone into a haunting, alien landscape. Humans hollowed out this wasteland, carving a subterranean empire of temples, dwellings, and lethal traps for invaders. The mountain that choked the world in ash millions of years ago became a sanctuary. A dark, beautiful irony. It is the ultimate testament to human grit, building wonders with simple iron, soft stone, and what lies deeper.